guys, welcome back, and we're doing our first book review. I'm doing the books that I have read in October, so kind of like an October wrap up. And October I read about 26, 28 books, and out of those books I'm going to talk about 6 of them because there's 6 that I recommend. All the other ones were okay, but I don't want to put like my stamp on it and be like, go read them. But these 6, I am gonna put my stamp on them and be like, please go read these books. They're amazing. And I have to say these are all pretty wide variety. We have 3 autobiographies, 1 middle school to high school fantasy, and then 2 romances, or 1 romance and 1 fantasy romance. So let's get into it. We're going to start off with my one, not young adult, but middle grade to young high schoolers. And it's The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klong. This is a phenomenal book. That being said, I only gave it a 4.5. I gave it a 4.5 because as an adult, there are moments where I'm like, yeah, this is very campy, which it makes sense that it's campy because it's not for an adult. It's not too complex, which makes sense because, well, it's for middle school and young high schoolers, which can't make it too complex for them or it's too hard and then they just shut down. But I think this is an excellent book that if parents want to read it first to see if they want to expose the kids to it, if their kids are not already exposed to it, because let's face it, your kids are exposed to everything the moment they step outside your door, so you may not know what they're exposed to. But maybe this might open up a good way for you guys to talk and meet in the middle, to help you make a safe place to talk about complicated things that they may not be fully understanding what's happening, but they know what's going on, and maybe you help them digest it and come to their own conclusion. Keyword, their own conclusion, because well, sometimes parents can be like, it's my way or the highway. And that usually doesn't turn out very well, especially when they go off and maybe go to college and they come back with completely different thoughts and feelings because they're exposed to more. But I highly recommend this book. It's about, I say it's a found family. It's about orphans and having kind of like those social workers, pretty much what he is, who goes to this island that has this orphanage full of orphans, and he goes to make sure that the living conditions are being met and that no abuse is happening. The trick or the spin of the whole thing is the fact that they are magical creatures. So that means they can do some sorts of thing that is magical or supernatural, I should say. Our characters, I can't name them all, but we have a boy who can shapeshift, we have a wyvern, we have a gnome who's one of my favorite characters, we have the son of the devil, supposedly. We have a boy who wants to be a bellhop. We have we have a sprite who went through a lot of horrible things to end up there, and I think I'm missing one more, but I can't remember who or what I'm missing. But and then we have the adults that are taking care of them, and so pretty much what it is the social worker is a boring man. I mean, boring. So boring, in fact, that his own mother said a white wall would be more interesting. Do you know how boring you have to be for your own mother to attack you in that way? Apparently, quite boring. So he has been told by his higher ups that he needs to go to this island, meet this meet this orphanage, and evaluate it. Make sure it's up to code, up to standards, as part of the rule book. He's supposed to be the best at his job. He's supposed to be unbiased. That is what he's known for. He's very much, this is my lane and I'm going to stick with it no matter what. I will die on this bridge kind of guy. Because it's like he likes the repetition. He is not an adventurous person. And there's nothing wrong with that. Unless you find that you have a problem with the person who isn't of interest. Then it's a problem. But for him, it wasn't. It eventually becomes a problem because he starts wanting more. But at the beginning, it's not. He's there to do his job, and in his own way, he is doing what he feels is best for the kids. He has always put these kids before his own. To a good extreme extent that it helps everything, no, but to enough that he thinks he's doing the right thing. And of course, if someone feels they're doing the right thing, they're going to do it, and they're going to feel like they're justified. Even the best intentions can have the worst results. That's kind of what I would assume what his role is at the beginning. So he goes to this island and he meets these kids, and they're all different, and they'll all have horrible, sad stories, and they're all young. They're all kids, and they've already started off their life on a devastating note. One in particular is my favorite character, Lucy. He has been told he's the son of the devil. There is no actual proof that he is, at least none that I call. If you've read the book and you're like, no, there is proof, put it down below. I can always go back and listen to it and find it. But from my understanding, it was always by word of mouth that he was the son of the devil, and then his actions. Which honestly, if you know kids, then you know if they're being told one thing, then they're going to act that way. Unless told otherwise or shown another way. So he was my favorite character. He was very much what I would do is a typical disruptive student back when I'm teaching. I don't teach no more, but when I was a teacher, you always have those few students who, even though you don't want to, end up becoming kind of your favorite because they're kind of disruptive and they're funny. I mean, that's what it is the funny. Even though sometimes in Lucy's case, it was very much sad to hear what he had to say. But he would say very shocking things that you had to catch yourself and be like, don't laugh, don't laugh, don't laugh, don't laugh. Okay, he had a lot of those moments. And if you're a teacher, you know what I'm talking about. Kids will say the most out-of-pocket thing. Sometimes to get a reaction out of you, other times because that's just the norm for them, and they don't know that it's not okay to say or do certain things. And so that's kind of what Lucy was. And he was sadness, if I had to. He was something that you couldn't help be sad about or feel pity about. Because the boy had, if he was the son of Lucifer, I mean, he is Lucifer. If he was the son of the devil, being that they're two different things, then he had no choice to be anything else because the world boxed him into it and said that you could be nothing but the son of the devil. And we're going to hate you for it, even though you may not be. And it just shows that, like, it brought up the nature versus nurture conversation that many people still to this day debate about. And it's something that I was like, you don't quite get the answer for it because honestly, you don't know. We've met many people, we've seen many serial killer stories where they've had a normal upbringing and then next thing you know, they've killed a bunch of people. And their parents don't understand where it comes from. On the other hand, you've had people who have been brutalized through life and they end up becoming some of our most famous, iconic people, which we'll get to in my next one. And so, back to the story. So he goes there and he starts evaluating, and they start to grow and develop feelings of love and making a family, including him. And he was always kind of an outcast too, even though he was just a plain guy. But everyone is a little odd. And he was finding that he had a little space. He even was starting to fall in love with the headmaster, which I was like, yay, I'm all about love. And that was nice. But then hearing the headmaster's story and understanding why he was also hesitant, and then understanding how humans, that's pretty much word, could hate something that they don't understand. And it always comes down to it's fear. They're scared of what they don't know. They're scared of what they can't control. And if they can't control it, they'll find some way to control it before it gets out of hand. But that always doesn't turn out right. In this case, it was fine because these are kids. They're not building their army. Excuse me. Even though that was a fear that they had, they're not building their army. They're just trying to find a safe place to weather the world when a world is literally trying to beat them up, or in some cases kill them, because that is something that humans do. Whenever we don't like something, we try to extinguish it, and that comes up, and it's a warm and fuzzy story with a lot of dark undertones, and I feel like it's a great story to bond over with someone. It's a great story to, if you have kids, if you want to introduce them to some things like racism, or if you want to get them into like the government and being in control, you can parallel that to like the Nazis, because they do in this story have a form of marking and tagging this minority group, because that's kind of what they were. I'm not saying it's the exact same, but we all know when our group starts to be pulled out in hand, told that they have to do some way to identify themselves, it's starting to look like a Hitler thing. And that came up. And then the hate for something that's different, which we've seen in many when it comes to capitalism or imperialism. I said capitalism. Imperialism, the need to conquer or to take over, and then the discrimination between different races. This can be seen in the sense of magical creatures against humans. So it's a great bridge to have those in-depth conversations with those around you. So let's move on to the next one. So I mentioned about how some people can come from a very horrible background and then make themselves into something amazing. One person that comes to mind now when I think about it, there's two actually, but we're going to start with my one that really first came to mind. He was an afterthought. She was not. She was my first one. Was Viola Davis. She has an autobiography, and it's called Finding Me, and it is devastatingly sad. And it's still at the same time inspiring, motivating, and just if you are at a place when, especially if you've come from a long way. I have been very blessed and come from a very happy family. So there's some things that I cannot connect to, I cannot understand, because I have had a shelter and a home to keep me safe. Not saying she didn't, but I did not have the same upbringing. But there are still moments where I can connect to her story. And there were many times where she would give me pause to reevaluate my life and to see if I'm doing the things that I want to do to become the person I want to become. And it's always about taking that step back and actually calling yourself out and being like, hey, you're toxic. Fix it before you blame it on someone else. And also understanding that at the end of the day, it takes two in every sort of relationship, not just a romantic one, but in a mother and daughter relationship, in a father daughter relationship, in a brother sister relationship, or sister sister relationship, best friends, enemy. It takes two. And you are half of that equation. And not everything may fall onto you, but how you respond and how you react, that falls on you. And it just made me, there was a quote in it, I'll have to put it over here because I don't have it with me right here, but it was a quote, and it was about when she was wanting a husband and just wanting something more for herself. And she was saying that when she first said this prayer, it was very different. And it shows mainly because how young she was. Then when she did that prayer again, before she prayed it, she kind of picked it apart and changed it because she realized what she was asking for at that time. She was definitely getting it, but that's not what she intended it to mean, not intended what she wanted. And it was because she wasn't asking things to help herself. She was just asking for things that she wanted. And just because you want something doesn't mean it's going to be the best for you. So she changed her prayers to start shaping what kind of person she wanted to be. And then also what kind of people she wanted in her life. And that made me sit down and really start to evaluate how I shaped what I would tell myself I wanted. Is this really what I want? Is this something that's going to help me be the person I want to be? So it was just amazing. And I felt like it was phenomenal. And my best advice, especially it's coming from Viola Davis, not from me because she inspired this, is when you sit down and you do your New Year's resolution, because we all know the holidays are coming up, Thanksgiving is Thursday, really think about if what you're wanting is going to be what you're going to want, or who you're going to want to be in 5 years, in a year. Is that who you want to be? Is that something you're going to want? And then break it down. They always say pick three and then break down those three. They said anything more than three is hard. I mean, they say three is hard. Anything more than that is just not going to happen. They would prefer if you did two things, find two things you really want to accomplish and write those down, and then break down those big goals into tiny little goals. And every day you sit down and you write what you can do to reach that goal. They said do that and you'll be successful. It's what I'm going to try this year, even though I technically don't do New Year's usually, just because my birthday's in July, and technically if we're talking about a new year, it would be my birthday because it's a new year for me starting that day. But I try to do this halfway mark. Well, we're halfway through my year because I'm a July baby. And if I'm not accomplishing what I wanted to do at the start of my birthday, this is the time to really, like, I guess, get into drive or see what's not happening with my plans. And I didn't really make New Year's for my 28th birthday because, well, I mean, I had a lot. I moved from Hawaii to DC. I stopped being a teacher and am now doing staff development, which is like adult teaching, but it's definitely different. I have got to go to concerts for the first time, and I'm seeing my family because my sister got married. I know my baby sister got married, and I've kind of just been absorbing how times have changed. And I guess I've been thinking about getting a master's degree, but I'm still not 100% sure. So it's just, I think with me coming up on my 29th coming up, even though it's all the way in July, I think I really want to start figuring out what it is I want to do. And I feel like this prayer that she corrected herself really helped me put in perspective, who do I want to be in 2 to 3 years? I'm not going to do 5 or 10 years because that's a long time, but who will I be in 2 to 3 years and how do I make that happen? It's been my next goal. Speaking of goal, the next book I'm going to talk about is Green Light by Matthew McConaughey. Oh, if you don't know who Viola Davis is, she's the lawyer from How to Get Away with Murder. She's the lawyer slash professor in that scenario. And then if you haven't seen that, if you've seen Woman King, she's the main actress in that one. She's been in so many, that's the only two that come to mind. But if not, Google her. You will know her once you see her. She's phenomenal. And she's phenomenal. Matthew McConaughey. He's also someone most people know. If you don't know who he is, he's on How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. He's on, is it the Treasure Island or Treasure Hunt, that movie one? And his most iconic line is when he goes, alright, alright, alright. I can't stand him. Just kidding. I think now that I've read his book, I appreciated him more. But I wouldn't say I'm his biggest fan when it comes to his acting. So, but loved his book. Didn't want to, but I liked it. I gave him 4 stars out of 5. And his book was just, it really humbled me because his book kind of echoing Viola's, even though I'm not saying that they got helped each other anyway. But while Viola was about changing your mindset for yourself, his was changing your response to the world and how you allow things affect you is going to be the outcome of it. If you are in a hard place, if you keep thinking you can't get out, then you're not going to get out. I mean, just plain simple terms. Obviously, there's more to it than that. But his was, if you work, you'll get farther than where you are now. And you have to sometimes stop, look back, see where you are, and then keep going. Also, it's called green light because it's every single time that he has gotten the green light to keep going in the direction he's going. Almost like we would call it luck. He is a very lucky man. He has had a lot of things kind of happen to him because he was in the right place at the right time. But it isn't just that. The luck may have given him the green light to go ahead with it, but his work ethic, his mindset is what took him so much farther. It got him where he is. And I thought that was very empowering. So I highly recommend his book. And a lot of the time you just be like, oh my God, that is so cool. And then other times you can be like, of course, this is going to be easy for you. Look at you. And and that, I mean, and he owns up to it too. Some of it is he was lucky. And then other parts of it, he's like, I worked my ass off. And from the way he tells it, he most definitely did. So it made me respect his career a lot more. Still wouldn't say I'm a fan of his acting, but that's okay because we each have our own opinions. If you like him as an actor, down below tell me your favorite movie by him. And I'll give it a shot. Maybe it's a movie I haven't seen, and that might change my perspective on him. The next book I'm going to talk about is Spare. And this is by Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex. We all know him as Prince Henry. He is the younger brother of Prince Charles. No, King Charles. What is his brother's name? I don't remember his brother's name. But he's the redhead of the group, literally. And he's married to Meghan Markle, the ex-actress. And he talks about his story of being a prince. And oh my God, that story really changed my perspective on royal life. And it made me just want to go and slap the royal family and be like, you are humans, you are allowed to be a family. Please act like one. At the same time, it wasn't that he was like trashing the royal family. He was just telling his story. And it sounded to me, I liked this book. I gave it also a 4 out of 5. I liked it because it was like one of those moments when you're at a table with your friends and maybe you've had a wild night and everyone's sitting down and you're drinking and you're just talking and then you start having those connecting conversations where they finally tell you their story. Not all of it, but a huge piece of it, and you start doing the, aha, this is who you are, and this is kind of why you are who you are. And it's a beautiful moment, and it's a sad moment. And a lot of times it leaves you and your friends sometimes crying or hugging at the end. It's like you get a moment to see who they truly are without any, like, in Japan or I think it's Korea where they say you have multiple faces. You have the face that the world sees, the face that your friends and see. So you have the world sees, your work face, your family face, and then your self face. And they're all you and they're all true, but they'll all sort of have certain limits, certain guards that you have to be a certain amount of closeness. And even your face, though true you may not be able to see or understand because honestly, you don't usually get to see your face unless you're looking at a mirror. And even then, your mirror, the way we see it, the way our minds make us view it, can be distorted. So you never quite truly understand who you truly are. And it was just phenomenal reading this book. It really, really was. I recommend it. It is sad. It is heartbreaking, especially when he brings up his mom. And it just really makes you take a second look at the royal family and be like, y'all go through a lot and you're not helping each other, and that's kind of sad. At the same time, there were moments when I was like, Prince Henry, you are a prince of England. Of course, they have racism. I mean, you guys conquered most of the world and put in a lot of the hierarchy that comes into place. So, yeah, it was a good book. I highly recommend it. There's a lot of aha moments, and there's a lot of oh shit moments, and then there's a lot of I would never want to be royal because it sounds completely horrible. At the same time, there are moments I'm like, I really wish I was with royalty because of how much good that they are able to do, and that is awesome. The next book we have two more left. We have a love letter to whiskey by Candy Spinner. This book had me on an emotional roller coaster. It is a romance book. And oh my god, was there so many times that I felt like screaming because there were so many moments where I'm like, this is so stupid, and yet I stayed. And yet I finished the whole book and had tears running down my eyes, and I was mad at myself for being emotional for this book, but I gave it a 5 out of 5 because it made me have feelings. It made me contemplate. It made me try to view it for someone with a different mindset, with a different background, with just a different way of viewing the world. And it pissed me off, but I liked it. It is a story about a girl who is mixed. She's biracial, she's black and white, and she's navigating life. While that happens, it's it's a romance, so it's a love letter to whiskey. Whiskey is being a boy who moved to town, and she fell in love with him. But when they first met, he fell in love with her best friend because her best friend was, of course, the one that most people would go for. She was a blonde, curvy head cheerleader, the one most people would see. And she was supposed to be small, very skinny, and not very curvy. Which, I mean, if for me, who's on the bigger side, they both sound like the two ideal types. So it was very interesting to hear how she felt that she was inferior because she didn't have curves. But she was skinny, and her friend was skinny. But anyways, to each their own. And so she becomes best friends with him, which wasn't the best choice. I mean, it was when they were in high school. And she pretty much falls in love with him. And he was a year older, so when he graduated, the best friend broke up with him. And then they kind of carried on their lives. And when she goes to college, she runs into him again. And this time, she has a boyfriend. He's single. And it's like a cat and mouse game. And it will get you all into the feels of why can't you just be together, break up with your respective partners, because obviously it's not working, and be together. But they're trying to do the right thing. But then the right thing makes them do horrible things. And then the horrible thing still ends up bringing them back together. And then a horrible thing happens, which then drags them apart. And then bad communication happens. Then one almost gets married, but doesn't. But then the other one does get married, and then falls into a Great Depression, and then divorces. And then you're just like, oh my god, would these two ever end up together? Because I am pissed off for them. Because they are stupid. Needless to say, read the book. You tell me if you think these characters are worth it. Because they had me all bent out of shape. They had me going in and out of, they should be together. Fuck them. They should not be together. They should be separated and never been together because they're horrible people too. These two horrible people belong together. It was a good book. Can you tell? Good book. Hate it, but I do recommend it. It is a romance book, so there are sex scenes in it. So it's a little spicy. I would give it 2 chili peppers I would say out of 5 chili peppers, it gets 2 chili peppers for spicy. So there are sex scenes, so no, it's not for young adults. It is an adult romance book. All right, and my last book, Daughter of No World. Oh my god, I have read the first two actually in the series. I didn't read the second one in October. I actually read the second one in November, so that's going to be my November review. But A Daughter of No World is in the series of The War of Lost Hearts, Book 1. And it is about a slave who gets away and goes to a place where they take people in and they teach them magic. And she goes to this place thinking that they will teach her magic so she can go back and free her fellow slaves. What ends up happening is they end up dropping her off to the most grouchy young old person I've ever read in a book. He is so it's a what is it? Sunshine character. Well, she's not a sunshine either. They're both very dark characters, and it makes sense once you hear the background of all the shit they go through. But she gets dropped off at him, and he is the grumpiest. My favorite line is when he goes outside and he goes, "I wasn't built for this," and he says it all the time, and I'm like, "Me too, bro. I'm not built for this. Me too." Whether it's heat, whether it's snow, whether it's no, I like rain, so I don't actually mind the rain, and I like cloudy days. But he's just like, no, I'm not built for this, and goes right back into his not cabin, and he refuses to teach her. Eventually, with her being stubborn, he gets hope. When he hears what she's coming there for, he gets hope that maybe the world isn't as bad as he thinks it is. So he starts training her, and he's supposed to be one of the best in this world. And as he starts training her, they start to have camaraderie, and they start to develop feelings. Now, is it love? Not yet. Is it respect? 100%. They become friends. They become understanding of each other. They become a family to each other. And then, yes, eventually it leads to them falling in love with each other. But not enough that she is going to just change her values and change her mindset of trying to save fellow slaves. So now she comes, after learning all this, she has to pass the test in order to become part of this group, to be like inaugurated into it. I don't know if inaugurate's the right word, but to be a part of this group, she has to pass the test. And so she's given the test and she passed. Though they were very sneaky and underhanded with this test. But that's a story for you to read. And you start figuring out that this government or the society that she has put on a pedestal, obviously, like most governments, is not as good as she thought it was. And her coming to this understanding and this devastation that she's not gonna just have to fight for releasing the slaves. Now she's gonna have to try to fight to get these people to come with her to fight for this. Even though if this is such a good place, they should already want to get these people free because they are their people as well, but they don't. And it's such a good book. I just recommend it, and I read this on Kindle Unlimited. So if you have whiskey, I Love Letter Whiskey and A Daughter of No World are both Kindle Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited is on Amazon. You pay, I think they've raised it. It was $10.99. I think it's now $12.99, and you pay that monthly, and then a whole bunch of books you can get, kind of like you pay a subscription to be able to check out books anytime you read it. And for me, it's really saved me a lot of money because of how quick they go through it. That being said, not all of these books are the best quality. Some of them are for like newer authors who are just getting started or people who are self-publishing. Some books on in the Kindle Unlimited should not be on there because it's like they have no one edit them and you're like, this is horrible. In this case, this was phenomenal. Phenomenal. The word of the day, phenomenal. I highly recommend it. It is for adults. There is sex scenes in it. Um, I would say the spice level is probably also two chili peppers out of five compared to on par with a love letter whiskey. Read both of them and tell me if it's spicier than what I recommend. My spice meter is different from y'all, so y'all have different threshold levels. But the character growth, the character developments, the relationship developments are done. The world building in this one was phenomenal, and it's so funny listening to these characters and seeing how they fit together and how they don't always fit together, but they make it work. So please read these books. Let me know if you like them. Let me know if you absolutely hate them. Not that that's going to change my opinion, but it's always good to know. Please keep watch out for the next book box. We have the November book box coming out for Alfred, so that's going to be a video coming out. Also, watch any of my other videos that I have. Thanks for watching with so much love and with so much happiness. And thank you for doing everything that you do because everything you do on this channel really doesn't matter.